Layering can be one of the most powerful techniques you can use in production to make your mixing easier and sound so much better. Today I thought I'd share with you a video of where I recently had to layer some guitars up on an electronic production to get them to blend much better. So let me show you what that's all about. Hello, my name's Alexander White, and every week I'm bringing you tips, techniques and ideas from the world of music composition, production, recording and mixing. So let me just give you a super quick bit of background about this track first of all. This was for a business podcast and the brief was to keep it quite professional. It's aimed at university students, so we wanted to keep it businessy and professional, but we also wanted to have a little bit of modern and a little bit of fun with it. What happens on this piece is we have an intro, which is almost like the customer asked me to create almost like a little ident sort of thing to start off, and then go into a section where there's going to be dialogue over the top, which is clips from the podcast, and then just end on something bigger. So first of all, I'm going to play you a little bit of that one, and then we'll come to the guitar version shortly afterwards. This is just the introduction version with no guitars, first of all, so you can see the progression of where we end up. Okay, so that little section with the beat when the drums actually come in, that's where there would be a bit of talking from the clip. So it's quite sparse, with just some drones and things that don't really get too in the way of the vocals. Now let me play you the guitar version and see what I did, because this was for the end when there's going to be no talking, but we wanted a bit more in the middle. Here's the guitar version. Okay, now let me play you those guitars in solo so you can really hear what was actually going on with the guitars. So let's jump over to my guitar track. Okay, this is just the guitars on their own. So when I started doing this, what I thought was I wanted some kind of guitar just to create a little riff. And I'll show you where I started. So I'll play this with the track just so you can see the very first idea that I had. I knew I wanted a melody or something like that. So this was the first part that I added. Just super basic, just eighth notes, and just playing a little kind of tune that goes over the top. Let me show you it in context. Here we go. But of course that doesn't sound thick enough or big enough. And even when I turned it up and whatever I did, I was like, this isn't enough. So I fell back on layering, which is such a wonderful technique to use to make your production sound bigger, thicker, more glued together. And I'm going to show you what I actually included in this. I mean, what have we got? We've got, let's check this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guitar tracks all leading to a bus. So that means all these guitar tracks end up running to here, which I would have done some mild processing on. We'll dig into the processing shortly as well. So first of all, we have this layer, which we've already listened to. I'll play you a little bit and then we'll go through. Okay, we've heard that one. So now let's go for the second one. Okay, do you hear that? That is in the other speaker and it's an octave down. Let me play them together. So it's already starting to sound thicker. You'll notice when I stopped the playback, there wasn't a reverb tail. That's because that delay that's on that one was recorded on the way in with the amplifier. I'll play that one in solo now. And that delay just, I think it was an eighth and a quarter note delay, just blended together, and it just creates a bit of movement and creates a bit of smoothness as well. So then, continuing on, I brought in another layer. I'm going to play these in solo because otherwise they'll get quite tricky to hear. So this was layer 3 because I was trying to make these guitars wash and blend and move in the context of this electronic track, which was already quite a smooth and precise kind of a sound anyway, because it was all electronic up until this point. I'm just doing a drone with that one, just the same as you would put a pad on a synthesizer to create a nice drone for a backdrop of a track. That's really just padding with those two. It just, even though the chords are changing, just sticking in the same key, in this case just doing a first and a fourth from the key, just keeps it really together and helps that blend. Let me play all 3 now together so you can hear how this builds up. All right, continuing on. So this is layer 4. Just literally some same delay, giving yet another piece of something that's oscillating and moving in there, all 4 together. Starting to come together and starting to get that blend and that smoothness. Okay, number 5. This is what this one was doing. Creating a wash, creating very much a drone. This is just power chords playing along with the main chords from the part. And then I'll show you the other one, which is just a double of this. And let me play them both together, just those 2 parts. Now, let me play you the entire group again in solo so you can see just how, after going through that mini tour, just how all of these wonderful layered parts come together. and once more in the context of the track, so you can hear just what all of this contributes when we've got everything else in as well. And the piece continues on. So let's very quickly, as our final thing, look at the processing that happened on the channels. Now I have a tape emulator in every single slot. I pretty much always do this. It's just a thing that I love to do. I like the way I can change the tone very quickly with the saturation knob, and I like the way that it will add a little bit of compression if I drive it a little bit. If I don't like it, I'll switch it off. Once in a while I do. If I've got a very low frequency sound like a kick drum or a bass, or if I'm working on an effects track or something and it's an explosion, sometimes the tape can actually limit the low end thump that comes out. So sometimes I remove it, but I would say 90% of the time I've got a tape emulator on the channel first. Then there's nothing more needed on here than channel strips. So what I've done is I've got some EQ, no compression, nothing else going on. So the EQ on here is a little bit of high pass filtering at 124 hertz. So I'm just really just chopping out all of the low end on this. And this is one of the up high picked sounds, so there is no reason to have any low end. There was something probably bugging me because I don't necessarily reach for a low pass or a high pass filter automatically, but there was obviously something that I thought was a bit weighty, so I wanted to take it out. Nothing on the high mid frequency. On the low mid frequency, I just took 4.8 decibels at 0.77 kilohertz for a medium Q. I will not have done this by worrying about the numbers. I have my control surface over here which operates this. I'll give you a demo here. So I wiggle my control here and that happens there. So I will just put that back to 4.8. There we go. So, but I would have just done this by ear, just having a listen, sweeping around the frequency and deciding that that was a little bit bigger, a little bit boxed, a little bit boxy sounding. So the next one, very similar. We've got a high pass filter again at 58. This was the low one. So if we just quickly cycle on a little bit. And that was it, except for a tiny little minus 2.8 at 200. So just taking off some of the low end. Then on track 3, absolutely nothing. And that sounds like this. This was this track. Just kept it ringing along. Remember, I'm making all these decisions when I'm listening in context with the mix, and I'll fix something if I hear there's a problem. I won't just go trying to solve problems that don't exist. I think that's such an important thing about mixing. Then we have track 4. Let's go and pull that up. And I think, again, nothing happening on this one. There's no compression. So this was this track. Simple delay, no actual processing on the track at all. And then we have this track. And on this one, although there's no high pass, there is a minus 5.6 at 1.09 kilohertz, a very mid-rangey telephone quality-like frequency. So clearly there was something bothering me at the time about that. Just removed some of it. Let's check the final track. and I did nothing on that one at all. So that's complete, no compression, no EQ. So again, just another flat track. Finally, on the guitar's bus, that's the main, no compression, but I did some more high pass filtering. So that'll affect every single guitar now coming onto this track. Tiny little bit of high end, 1.4 decibels at 8 kilohertz. That wouldn't have been something to do with the guitars themselves. That would have just been in the context of the track. I felt they were a little dark and they needed to balance against the rest of the instruments. So I would have just brightened that up just to make them sit better with everybody else. Then minus 1.7 decibels at 3.97. That's quite a common one. 4 kilohertz is brightness on guitar, not extreme top. That's the one above is extreme top. Sort of just sharpness. There was something that I just thought was a little too sharp about them all. So I basically raised the very top and brought it down just a little below. So the overall result, I guess, is they stay about the same level, but I'm just changing where that tone is sitting. Then minus 4.5 decibels at 280 hertz. That's again quite a common one. I've gone for a slightly narrower Q here, so the actual shape of the cut would have been narrower. So that will just be clearing out some whoom, 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 whoom sort of stuff around 280. Slightly higher than that, actually. Whoom, 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 maybe. So it's that kind of stuff that can build up from a guitar cabinet. And then, clearly I changed this control because the default is 200. So I moved this up to 400 and obviously played with something but didn't like it and ended up not doing anything. There's no compression and there's no saturation or anything like that. So one more time in the context of the track. And that's why layering is so awesome. So if you're ever stuck with your guitars or any instrument at all, try building up some layers and see if that makes you feel happier. You can always press mute if you don't like it. But you may have noticed in there some of those parts in solo almost sounded like a little bit clunkily played. They were almost like, you almost had a sense of them being slightly out of time. Well, actually, when you start to put all those parts together, all that just vanishes. Oh, and use delay. That really works as well. Make sure you use delay on guitars when you want this kind of thing. Set something like a quarter or an eighth note delay and just let it ring for a bit. You'd be surprised by how in the mix you don't really hear it. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this has been helpful. Please do let me know in the comments if you've tried layering before and whether you've had any success with it. Like and subscribe. It means so much to like and subscribe. It helps me keep making these videos for you every single week and hopefully contributing positively to your mixing, recording, production life. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on a video next week.